en un lugar de La Mancha, de cuyo nombre no quiero acordarme.
It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good
Aujourd'hui,
fortune...
maman est morte. Ou peut-être hier, je ne sais pas.
I'm Christopher Kenneally at the London Book Fair for the Spoken Word Podcasts. All this week, audiobooks are on the front stage here in Olympia Conference Center. The fastest growing segment of trade book publishing in 2025 certainly deserves the attention. Revenues from audiobooks in major markets like the UK and US continue to soar year after year. Nathan Hull is CSO at Beat Technology, creators of audiobook and ebook subscription apps for providers across Europe. Welcome to the program, Nathan.
Thanks for having me.
I want to ask you about grading the programming here. You are a part of the programming, the audiobook programming at the center, and it's been really a dominant part of the show this year. How would you grade the performance?
I think I shouted it out on my panel earlier this morning. I think it's a huge leap forward by London Book Fair. In previous years, I've worked with them quite closely in trying to advise on what I think is needed in the audio space, and they've gone from, I think originally there was a couple of ideas around audio panels for the fair this week, and I think we're up to 12. So I think it's a phenomenal achievement, but there's always room for more.
You moderate a program called The Art of Creating an Audiobook, and you've worked with actor Stephen Fry and chef Jamie Oliver, among others. So what's the most important lesson you've learned for producing successful audiobooks?
Well, I learned a lot specifically from the panelists this morning. They were kind of handpicked, so we had an author, we had a producer, we had casting directors, and most importantly, we had a narrator. So I learned a lot from them, and I think one thing that's really changed is it's really not about now putting a narrator in a booth and reading the book. It's everything else in the run-up towards that. It's about the relationship between the publisher and the author and the narrator. There's all kinds of other things that I thought I always understood to bring to the table in terms of, research and the locality of where books are setting and how to pronounce things and all of these other kind of things. But I think what really came through in that panel this morning was about performance. Peter Noble, the actor we had, said he doesn't want to get in the way of the text. His voice is just to elevate the text that the author originally intended to bring it to a different type of listener. And that was so simple, what he said, to not get in the way of the text. So that really resonated with me.
Well, you're talking about not getting in the way of the text when it comes to the narrator. What about the technologies? Does the technology and the learning curve for publishers, does that get in the way for them?
Well, we're in the midst of such an acceleration with all types of technology. So from AI voice recordings to AI being involved in the process, through to platforms like our own, which is around how you reach new listeners or how you sell. And for the most part, I would say that you have to find the right individuals, but publishers big and small, there's always a conversation to have, and people are more curious than they are scared. But as with anything, it comes down to a longer educative process. So that's to the publishers, sometimes it's to the authors and the agents as well, and then sometimes it's to the consumers. And fundamentally, I think it's easier for the bigger publishers because they have a wider range of skill sets than maybe some of the mid-sized or smaller publishers do, or the more nascent markets. But there's an appetite there for technology generally around how that can help them sell more, sell faster, reach new readers, aid discoverability, all kinds of things.
And finally, Nathan Hull, is there anything missing in the audiobook programming here at London Book Fair?
I wrote an article on this once, and I got hammered very hard by all book fair organizers, so I had to be careful. But given as you said right at the start, that the super significant continued growth in audio, there's nothing to listen to. Literally nothing to listen to. And I know London is not a public book fair, but there's many of them that are. And if this format is so important and worth so much money to the industry and to authors and to people earning a living, then let's let them listen to more. And it just feels very odd. And there's some very old school simple solutions. Like back in the day when record shops existed, there were listening posts. Why that can't be that hard to fulfill. And I know there is a disservice to some fairs because there are things around. So at Frankfurt, there was a lot of things starting to happen, but it just, in my head, should be more commonplace.
Nathan Hull, CSO with Beat Technology, thanks very much for talking to me on The Spoken World.
Thanks for the opportunity and great to see you again, Chris.
That's all for now. Our producer is Jeremy Brisky of Burst Marketing, and Rob Simon is our executive producer. The Spoken World covers the latest news in the global audiobook market and features exclusive interviews with audio industry leaders, analysts, and innovators. Learn more at spokenworld.media and subscribe on all major podcast and streaming platforms. I'm Christopher Kenneally. Join me again soon on The Spoken World.